Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
What's coming in 2023? We'll discuss some possibilities, what's coming, and how to get ready, how to prepare for some of the possible, probable difficulties and challenges of the coming years, I would say, not just next year, not this coming year, but several years, I think. So our title is Economic Decline and Stress in 2023, which gives you an idea of what is probably going to happen, right? What is already happening. And the question is, how do we deal with it? Because we all get stressed out. We get worried about money. So that's our topic today. Just adjust my focus here on the camera. All right. Now, Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year. Happy 2023. I recommend my business English course at my website, effortlessenglishclub.com. My business course, of course, it teaches you business English, but also, maybe more importantly, teaches you how to get a better job. How to get a better job, meaning how to make more money at your job, how to improve your career, how to do great job searches, how to succeed in job interviews, make great resumes or CVs, and just, how to get a more secure and higher paying and better quality job. So that's what my business English course teaches you. That plus, of course, just business English vocabulary. And it's on my website, effortlessenglishclub.com, effortlessenglishclub.com. Let's talk about it. So I've been reading, I read a bunch of websites, and I read some that are focused on economics. And most of them, I'd say all of them, actually, all the ones I read are predicting that this year there will be a big economic decline, right? Decline means to go down. Now, does this mean the whole world? Not necessarily, no. It's specifically, what would we call it, the dollar zone. America and European zone is in trouble. Already in trouble. We're already seeing it. And most likely going to get worse. Now, the other zone, the other economic area that's just starting to develop now, is being created now, we could call the BRICS zone, I guess. BRICS. So Brazil, Russia, India, China as the big four. You could probably add Iran in there now, but you get the idea. And this zone has a better future ahead, it seems. From everything I've read, and I believe it as well, that the BRICS zone is the future, and the sort of Euro-American zone is going down, and is going to have a lot of problems caused by themselves, caused by the leaders of those areas, of European and American leaders. So let's talk about specifically what may happen, what is likely to happen, and how you deal with it. That's the more important part, how to deal with it, so you're not afraid. No need to be afraid about it. But, this is one of the things. I think we get afraid, especially about the unknown, about uncertainty, right? It's not so much difficult things that we fear. We can handle difficult things. We can handle difficult challenges if we are aware of them, if we know about them, then we can prepare and take actions. It will be okay. And that is true. I believe that is true for this year, that it's going to be fine. You can take actions and prepare, and you'll be fine. So let's talk about first some predictions. First, we'll go to, this is one that's been coming a long time, and that is a big tech crash. It's the problem with these predictions is it's very difficult to predict the timing. When is it going to happen? It's much easier to see the direction, right? To see what's coming, right? You can see, for example, the tech industry, Silicon Valley, Google, Amazon, Apple, all these companies. If you look at them and examine them, it has been obvious these companies are they're terrible companies. Meaning they are loaded, and they're just, more than half their employees are useless. They just have all these useless employees. Their products are getting worse and worse and worse, and they're wasting tons of money. They're supported mostly by governments at this point. That's how they continue to survive. But this cannot keep going forever. So a tech crash, a crash of the tech industry, has been coming for a long time. It's hard to say. Will it happen this month? Will it happen this year? Maybe it'll happen next year. Who knows? But it's coming for sure, because these companies are out of control. We can see this already at Twitter, where Elon Musk bought Twitter. He fired more than half the company, and nothing changed. In fact, it seems like Twitter's doing better. Twitter's doing better. The website's functioning better, and actually is a little faster now. It has more people. So what were those employees doing? Half of his workforce got fired, and the company improved. What does that tell you? It tells you that half of the people, at least half of the people, were totally useless. In fact, they're probably pulling down the company, right? And this is true. I'd say it's much more than half. It's probably 80%. He could probably fire 30% more. All he needs is just the engineers and a few designers, and everybody else there is a waste. And this is true at Apple, it's true at Amazon, it's definitely true at Google, Facebook. All of these companies are they're in trouble. So let's go to this article here. It's a place called, it's called From the Register is the name. But it's talking about this guy, the writer, is talking about the huge amount of money that Amazon and Google specifically are losing, and how Amazon is losing billions of dollars from their Alexa, their voice service, which is not making them any money, but costs them a huge amount of money. And of course, we know their terrible Lord of the Rings thing. They paid like over $1 billion, and that's been a disaster too. So, and then transportation costs are going up. So Amazon's potentially in trouble. Maybe not right now today, but long term. And then Google Cloud is losing I guess it was last year, $700 million they lost. Yikes. So Google also, Google's another one of these companies that, they make their money from AdWords, mostly from advertising. That has been declining. So the American economy, a lot of it has been held up by these tech companies. So when these tech companies crash, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Probably they need to lose their jobs because they're doing useless work. And that's going to affect the whole economy. Our next website is called Market Ticker, and this guy's good. I like him. He has been very good at predicting things that will happen. He made a bunch of predictions last year that came true. I mean, his predictions last year were very, 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 very good. So let's see what he's predicting for 2023, because this guy has a very good record. Okay, he's kind of an economist investor, this guy. So he says, number one, the lie about the virus this is not economic, but he's saying that is coming. More and more people are learning the truth, that the whole thing was a big lie, that the shots are poisonous and bad for your health. Yeah, of course, we've known this for a long time. Okay, let's get down more into a little bit of the economic stuff because that's our topic today. Okay, he's saying number one, that online shopping is in trouble. He says Amazon is in trouble. So here's another person talking about Amazon being in trouble. It's not only them, but he says online in general, because they have kept their prices down. But these prices, their costs are going up and up and up, and this is going to start hitting them and affecting online shopping and all these online companies. Of course, Amazon being the big one in the United States and other countries too. The market, the stock market. He's talking about the American stock market, but this probably is true for European markets as well. He predicts they will go down 10 to 20% more. They're going to continue to go down. They're going to go down. So stock prices, not necessarily a giant crash, but a decline, going down. His next prediction, inflation is going up. It will continue to go up. It's already been going up. What is this? Inflation, the cost, how much you have to pay for everything, right? That things are going to get more and more expensive. Europe, this could be really terrible because they killed themselves by attacking Russia. So they're now going to pay a lot more money for energy, and all their prices are going up. Their industries are going down. Europe is probably has the worst possible situation, but America also problems. So everything's going to get more expensive, continue to get more expensive. Interest rates are going up. They've already been going up, but they will continue to go up. That means if you need to borrow money, if you want to try to buy a house or a car, if you pay interest, if you borrow money, then you're going to have to pay much more. This will also affect businesses. This will cause many businesses to go bankrupt because many businesses have loans and large loans, and they borrow money, and they need to borrow money. And when the interest rates go up, when they have to pay more, the businesses can't do it, and they go bankrupt. And then what do? Then all the employees lose their jobs, and this causes the economy to drop more and more and more. Right? It's kind of this downward spiral that happens. He talks a little about Russia. Russia is not going to be beaten. Of course, they're winning. They're going to destroy. They're winning. They're going to win. Everyone knows this, I think. It's obvious. But that it's related to the economy. Much of the West, Europe, and America have killed themselves. The sanctions killed them instead of... It didn't do much to Russia, but America and Europe and Australia, etc., are all in quite a big trouble. And then housing. Finally, he predicts housing prices are going to go drop. The housing market. This is what happened back in 2008, which started that whole banking crisis and created that big, huge stock market crash and several years of economic problems. It was triggered, we would say. The first thing that happened was that the housing market in America and elsewhere, but especially America, I think, collapsed. It dropped. The housing prices dropped. People couldn't sell their houses anymore, and a lot of people, they need those prices to stay up. That's kind of their main savings. Foolishly, but that's what happens. A lot of people do that, and that this is now getting ready to happen again. This is happening again. Housing prices are dropping. Housing sales are dropping. And then he also predicts car prices are also dropping. Used car prices. Harder and harder and harder to sell used cars. So all of these, when you put all these things together, that we got a big problem. I'm going to read the last paragraph. He says, I hope everyone enjoyed the salad days of the last 10 years. Salad days means like the good times. I hope everyone enjoyed the good times of the last 10 years. They are over. Now you need to embrace the suck. I'll talk about that phrase. It's a kind of an idiom. Because things are not going to clear up soon. If we're lucky, things will start to get better in about 5 years. If not, we may be looking at something like the 1930s, the Great Depression. So over 10, 15 years of economic depression and decline. So this is a very pessimistic view of what's coming. So he's saying at least the next 5 years, are going to be really, really bad economically. All right, so there you go. All the bad news. All right, let's talk about it. So, what to do about it is the question. What to do about it. And I think you already know my basic prescriptions. I mentioned them in my last show. The thing to do is not to be afraid. Do not fear. Do not fear, as the Gita says, the Bhagavad Gita many times. Do not fear. There's no need to be terrified of this, okay? This has happened in the past many times. Even, my grandparents lived through, and my great-grandparents lived through the 1930s, the worst depression, in the last 100 to 150 years in America and Europe, and they survived. It was tough, but they survived. They're okay. And how did they do it? Well, the thing is, we have to realize that in our lifetime, like my lifetime, the last 50 years, certainly, we live in a time of material excess, extra. It means we have so many things that we really do not need. We have confused this. We think we need so many things. We don't. And we will be fine without them. We don't need televisions. We don't need cell phones and smartphones. We don't need any of that stuff. Okay? Yeah, they're nice to have, I guess. They have some convenience, but there's no need to be afraid. So even in the worst situation, a terrible situation where we have a big economic collapse and you can't pay your cell phone anymore. Oh well, no big deal. Okay, it's not the end of the world. You'll survive. Okay, what do we need? We need food. We need shelter, and most of all, I think we need each other, family, right? So if you have these things, if you focus on just the basics, okay, you got to eat, of course, right? And you need shelter so you don't freeze to death in the winter if you live somewhere cold. If you live somewhere warm, where it's warm all the time, well, then that's easy. You don't even need heat, okay? I lived in Thailand for a whole year with no aircon. It was not comfortable, but I got used to it. So we actually need material things very little. And so I think what we should do, all of us, and this includes me too, is just start to live simply. Choose. When you do it by choice, when you do it to prepare, when you are doing it instead of it's not forced. You're choosing to do it. When you choose to live a very simple life and reduce what you need and reduce your spending and reduce your material possessions and consumption, when you do these things, you get a deep feeling of control and confidence, because you realize, I don't really need that much. It's nice to have some stuff, sure, but you don't need that much. That you don't need to fear. You don't need to be afraid of losing, things and stuff. And you will be surprised how little you actually need to still be comfortable and healthy and happy. So I'm not saying you have to go live in a car or anything, okay? But just start cutting your expenses. And the key thing, if we're talking about economics and money, if we want to talk about money, is always live below your means. What does that mean? Live below your means. It means you're always spending less, much less than your income. Always spend much less than you make. If you make $5,000 a month, try to live on $3,000 a month. That's $2,000 extra every month then, right? If you make $3,000 a month, Try to live on 1,500, half of it a month. Right? You get the idea. Always, always, always living not just a little below. Most people try to match it. They make 2,000, they spend 2,000. They make 5,000, they spend 5,000. They make 100,000 a month, they spend 100,000 a month. Right? Like they always, as soon as they get more, they spend more. Right? It's terrible. So we've got to do the opposite. It's called voluntary simplicity. Voluntary simplicity. Voluntary means you choose it. No one's forcing you to do it, but you choose. And of course, simplicity, to live simply. There are spiritual benefits to this as well. There are psychological benefits, emotional benefits, all of this. And most of all, it removes so much fear about money, and it removes so much stress. So even if you have a great job now, you're making great money, you're doing well, you never know what can happen, right? Your company might suddenly, start losing a lot of money, and you have to, and your job gets cut. I think these things happen all the time. So we never know. On the other hand, you might make even more money. Who knows? But the less you need, the more secure you are. Security doesn't come from making a lot. Security comes from needing less. Focusing on God and family, on religion and family, most of all, and then just the basics. And even food. Don't eat out at restaurants. Learn to cook at home. I'm doing this. This is one of my projects for this year. I already started, actually, this last month. I've been cooking much more and learning to cook more, and we almost never eat at restaurants now. And we save a lot of money, and it's healthier too. So I recommend, if you go out to restaurants, cut that. If you're spending money in other ways, cut it. If you live in a large, expensive house or apartment, if you're spending a lot of money on a house loan, or you're spending a lot of money on an apartment loan, start looking for something cheaper. Consider moving to a cheaper place, a smaller place, a simpler place, right? Same with your transportation costs. If you've got an expensive car, it's costing you a lot of money for car insurance and repairs and everything. Consider selling it. Get a cheap, older, but still reliable car. Just get something cheap, old, and reliable. And which is possible. That's what I've always bought myself. Or it may be, if you're lucky, if you live in a place with great transportation, like trains and things, maybe you don't need a car at all. In fact, we have a car, but we're talking about selling our car this year. We don't need. Japan's got an amazing transportation system and fantastic train system, buses. So we almost never use it anyway. So we're thinking, well, what are we doing? We're just spending money on this car. We're hardly using it. And so we're going to simplify. So we're doing this too. And I really, really recommend that you do this. When you do this, as you cut your expenses, and you get things down more and more simple, it's kind of like taking a big weight off of you. And I remember, when I was young, I had financial stress, economic stress, right? Stress about money all the time. I did, because I was an idiot. I didn't make much, and I spent too much. And I was always spending everything I made, never saving anything. And so anytime something unexpected happened, a surprise, like my car would break, for example, and I have to pay extra to repair it. I didn't have any money saved, and just massive stress, right? And then oh my God, how do I pay for this? And I'd get so stressed out, and maybe I have to use a credit card, and then now I have a debt, and I have to pay that, and it is so stressful. This is one of the biggest causes of stress for individual people and for families. A lot of marriages get stressed by money problems, a lot of them, where the couple's constantly having money problems and fighting about money and stressed about money, and it puts a huge stress on the family, on the couple. It's just terrible. And the problem is, most people focus on making more money. They think that's the answer. More, 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 more. But the answer is less. Okay, I'm speaking from experience. I've done both sides. I've made more and I've cut and done less. And less is easier and anyone can do it. Anyone can cut their expenses. You can live more simply. You can live very, very, very simply. Then if you make more, fantastic. Oh, now you got a lot of extra. You can start saving and then you'll have even less financial stress, okay? But when you just focus on more, a lot of people make more, but then they spend more. They make more, they spend more. They make more, they spend more. They're still stressed out. They're still in the same situation, right? People you think of who are very wealthy, they still do this. You know, I was watching some TV show about celebrities. It's based on celebrities. It wasn't it's like a fiction story, but it's based on a real celebrity. I think it's based on Mark Wahlberg, actually. But, they show the celebrity lifestyle of some of these big movie stars. And they just spend money like crazy, just insane, crazy, stupid, really foolish. Just spending huge amounts of money on parties and private planes and all this stuff. And so even though they're making millions of dollars, they're still stressed financially because they're spending millions of dollars. Normal people like us, we think like, how can you spend that much money? It's, it seems impossible. Like we can't even imagine how you could manage to spend $1 million in 1 month or something, but they do. They do. They go crazy. Okay. So this is why this is an insanity. It's a kind of craziness. More. Right? It's an addiction. It's an addiction. Just like, alcoholics want more alcohol. Drug addicts want more drugs. Well, we can get this way with money too. I just need more money. I just need more money. I just need more money. More. We always think we need more, but actually what we need to do is more discipline. We need to spend less. We need to live more simply, live in a smaller place, everything cheaper, everything smaller, everything more simple. Simplify your life and you reduce your stress a lot. So this is my advice for you because I believe that these predictions are correct. Like I said, we never know the timing. Maybe it'll happen in 2024 instead of this year. Who knows? But it's already happening. So the things this guy's predicting, inflation going up, housing prices going down, I mean, these things are already happening. He's just predicting they will continue to happen and get worse and worse. I think he's right. There's no sign that anything's getting better. Governments aren't doing anything in the West to make them better. In fact, everything they're doing will make it worse. So there's zero signs things are going to get better economically. So prepare. Now let's talk about another thing you can do to prepare. So living simply is number one. 100%, that's number one. That's the most important. The second thing to do is to invest in yourself. To invest in yourself. That means to build your skills, to build your emotional strength, to make yourself a stronger, smarter, more skillful person. Okay, so instead of trying to buy things, so you're doing it with English, for example. What does that do? It gives you a useful skill that may help you get better jobs in the future, or keep a job you have, or move in your company to a different job that's more secure, right? It gives you a very useful skill that not everybody has. So English is a great example, but there are many other examples. What other skills? What could you learn this year that would help you long term in the future, that might help you long term get or keep better jobs or have more security? They might be job skills, like maybe it would be computer skills, maybe it would be public speaking skills, management, leadership, all these kind of things, these kind of business skills. Or maybe personal skills. I already mentioned cooking. Maybe repairing car repair. Maybe just doing simple things like changing your oil, air filters, water pump. If you can make some common repairs to your car, could save a lot of money. Car repairs are expensive. So learning that could be a good skill. That could even turn into a little business for you if you wanted to. It could be something even like meditation, NLP, so more internal, where you just learn to be more calm under stress, that you learn how to handle difficult situations more calmly. You could be jujitsu. I'm always promoting jujitsu. But, that's like, jujitsu will give you greater confidence, self-defense ability, better fitness. So it could be jujitsu or boxing or wrestling or some martial arts skill like that. Right? So just start thinking of a list of different skills that you could learn that will make you a more adaptable, stronger person, stronger inside, the emotions, mentally, and even physically. Right? So that's the second thing. So number 1 is live simply. Live more simply. Live much more simply. And number 2, learn new skills. Learn. And there are many areas where you can learn. And this is how you handle, and this is the way to prepare for difficulties in general. Okay? Economic, right? Difficulties, money difficulties, and even and other difficulties too that will come in life. So I highly recommend this. All right, let's get into our questions and comments now. I got about 10 more minutes and then I got to go. First of all, Swami Tripurari, thank you. I always enjoy seeing you, and thank you for the 5 rupee donation. Thank you very much. He writes, Happy New Year, much devotional service. Thank you very much. And lots of people saying Happy New Year, and thank you so much, everybody. Ryan with a very specific question, which I will say I don't know. He says, there are some predictions regarding the Japanese economy that might impact the world due to the BOJ interest rates affecting the yen, causing the world to slide into recession. What do you think? I think there's so many possible things that can cause the world to slide into recession. I think we're already in recession. I mean, it's already happened. Now we have to say, and remember, there's the world, but now the world's dividing into these 2 zones. And this is kind of what we might call the dollar zone and the BRICS zone, I think is maybe an easy way to say it. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, especially Russia and China being the big ones in that group. And they're gradually, they're pretty quickly actually setting up kind of their own economic system. And then there's the European American dollar zone, which right now still controls most of the globe. And the dollar zone's in big trouble. And Japan's part of that, yes. I don't know what the trigger will be, but I think we can already see that things are sliding. And it is possible that, they're kind of declining, going down, down, down. There is possible that there could be a sudden crash, or it might just continue to gradually go down, continue going down, continue going down, continue going down over the next several years. Right? Some people will predict a sudden crash, that something will happen and boom, everything crashes quickly. And then other people predict, that it might just continue sliding down the way it has been. And the truth is, nobody really knows. Anna Grigoreva says, I've heard already that 3 times that 2023 will be one of the hardest years. Most of it will be economic, price controls, medicine. It's really terrible. Well, Anna, the good news is you're in Russia, and Russia has proven to have a very resilient, right, a strong economy. And I think being in the Russian zone, the Russian-Chinese zone, you will probably be fine. Maybe some economic stresses, but Europe, America, and those who are tied to Europe and America are going to really get hit hard, I think, already. Europe especially. I think Europe is probably in the worst situation. America has a few more resources and may do a little better. We'll see. Mauricio says, God is in control. Yes, indeed. This is, I think this would be the ultimate is your devotion and faith would be maybe really number one. That's the first thing. If you're not afraid, if you have that strong spiritual foundation, then these other two things will not be so difficult. Yeah, Anna is talking about how in Russia, it's the opposite problem. The prices on apartments are skyrocketing. Everything's going up quickly. So, whereas these things may be crashing in America and eventually in America and Europe, they've got the other problem that the ruble actually boomed. Supposedly the ruble was going to collapse. It did the opposite. So, I don't know the details of all of this, but so that's obviously inflation. It's gonna. I think everyone's gonna be affected somewhat, but in this sort of situation, because what Anna's describing has already happened in America, especially in places like New York and San Francisco. I mean, the housing prices, unbelievable over the last 10 years, just ridiculously high, crazy, insane. Okay, so when that happens, you just don't move, right? You got to stay in the place where you already are, which is going to be much cheaper because this is a sort of insane, like this. San Francisco is the same. It's one reason I left. One of the many reasons I left San Francisco. Yeah, Alexei with a very good point. Being ill for several years, I can say that all I need is health. The rest can be earned by your activities. This is a very good point. Your health, and I would say your spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical health are the keys, right? That's a very good point. Very good point. Tian Lung says learning cooking is a great idea. It's healthy and it saves money. Yes, indeed. Eric Abreu says the price of foods are very expensive in Brazil. Indeed, and when food prices go up, then you have to economize. You got to learn how to save money on food. For example, you buy bulk, you buy large amounts when you can. So certain things like rice, wheat, and beans are usually going to be fairly inexpensive. Right, the prices can go up, but they're probably the cheapest foods. There are staple foods where you can get a lot of calories, decent nutrition by combining those. Right, rice and beans, wheat, beans, and you can buy them in very large amounts. Right, big large bags of rice, for example. Here in Japan, of course, rice is the most important and key one. So that's what you do. And then, of course, you buy other things too, but you got a budget. Yeah, like Abdel Hamid says, I'm particularly fond of your simplicity mindset. Instead of hitting the gym, I can run in nature. Yeah, you don't need a gym. I don't even like gyms anymore. I used to do gyms, right? But first of all, they're expensive. They're always expensive. And what are you getting? You got to go there, and then you got to wait around. You got to waste a lot of time. You got to go there, and it takes time to go there, change your clothes. But you just work out at home. You can do a strength workout at home. You can do pull-ups on a bar in a playground or something, or buy a really cheap one and put it in a door in your house or your apartment. You can do, push-ups. You can spend a little money on a kettlebell, and you can lift kettlebells, or no weights at all. You can do handstands, and you can do handstand push-ups. You can do all these body weight kind of gymnastic style exercises and become very strong. Just doing that in your own home if you want strength. For endurance, of course, you can just walk or run outdoors. Requires no extra money, just some shoes. You can stretch. That's also free. So all these things are free or very, very cheap compared to spending, I don't know, what are gym memberships now in America? Probably like $50 a month or something, right? We don't need that. Amina says, what are your plans for your kids in 2023? I've got a whole homeschooling plan we'll be following this year. Mostly get them, my basic goals for my kids are that they will be able to start reading words this year. That by the end of the year, so they're three, they'll be 4 in the spring. So I'm hoping at the end of 2023, they'll be reading simple words, really starting to really read, So we got to make sure they know all the letter sounds well, and then we start working on words. And then for numbers, same thing, something similar with numbers. Yeah, like Ricardo says, the solution is preparation. People need to prepare themselves before things happen. This is very important because, there's something called normalcy bias. Normalcy means, what is normal. Bias, we learned this word last time, actually. Bias means something you usually do. Excuse me. So what does that mean? It means we're used to just life. This is psychological. It's human nature that whatever's normal now, we think will continue. There's some part of us, kind of deep in our brain, we just think, oh, it'll always be this way. So we kind of don't prepare for changes, especially big changes. And we kind of have in our mind that, oh, yeah, it'll be okay, and it's not going to change. But of course it can, and it will. So a lot of people avoid preparing. They think, well, I'll just wait until it happens. But then when it happens, it's much more stressful. Okay, so go ahead and prepare now. And hey, what if all of this is wrong? What if instead you prepare and you live simply and you do all these things? You cut your expenses, you simplify your life, you learn new skills. And instead the economy is fantastic this year and you make tons of money. You'll still benefit. Will it hurt you to live more simply? Will it hurt you to learn new skills? Of course not. You'll be in great shape. You'll be saving tons of money if you do that. If you do well, if you get really lucky or the economy's great, it won't hurt anything, right? So this preparation, doing this is great for any situation. You live simply. If the economy's bad, you're ready. No stress. If the economy's good, you save a lot of money. Even better. Then fantastic. So it's a good strategy no matter what happens. Yeah, Olga, good point. Says, I spend money every day on coffee. In a month, it becomes a lot. I don't know how to reduce money on coffee. I love it so much. Well, you just make your own. This is what I used to do this too. I used to go to coffee shops all the time. And honestly, I just like sitting in coffee shops. It was not really the coffee I was going for. I like coffee, but I just like the environment, sit, and I would do some writing, plan my lessons and my shows, But, luckily since my kids came, I don't really have time for that. And we just make coffee at home. You just buy a big giant bag of coffee. It tastes just as good as a coffee shop. And it's much, 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 much cheaper, right? So doing things at home instead of going out. When you go to a shop, when you go to a restaurant, you're paying for the staff. You're paying for their rent. You're paying for the big giant company and their profits, right? If you just buy a large amount of coffee and make it in your home, man, it's so much cheaper, right? And this is true for almost anything. Tea or food, cooking, really everything. Yeah, Marcelo says, needing less is great advice. Indeed. This is the thing that really probably helped me in my life the most economically, right? Because, yeah, I started a business and started making money and all that. But the thing that really reduced my stress about money, and I had a lot of stress about money for a long time when I was young, But the thing that changed it was this: needing less, simplifying my life. It was several years of just keep cutting until you guys know the story. I've told it many times, but the point is I was living so simply that I didn't need much money at all. And then I could finally relax in that area of my life. Burpee Master, nice name, says best workout is burpees. Burpees are awesome exercise. They're very tough, whole body exercise. I agree. And again, free, no money. You can do burpees in your little small room. You can do burpees in a hotel room. But if you don't know what a burpee is, look on YouTube. Burpee. It's an exercise where you're standing up, you drop down, kind of squatting, then you shoot your legs back like a push-up position, do a push-up, and then bring your feet back up, and then jump up in the air. It's good for strength, and it will, really good for you'll be breathing. It's a hard workout. If you do them fast, it's very difficult. Okay, I got to go soon because we're going to be doing a phone call to the great-grandparents. How many children do I have? I have 2 children. Yeah, Leonardo Jose says, I'm going to work by bike. I save money and I exercise every day for 2 hours. Great example. Double benefit. Instead of spending money on a car, doesn't spend money even on a train or a bus. On his bicycle, which is super cheap, basically free. After you buy the bike, it's free. And gets a great exercise benefit, and just nice to be outdoors. It's a fantastic, great example of this. Yeah, Tien, following up on my comment about coffee, says buying coffee at a coffee shop is expensive. I'm buying 2 to 3 kilograms of coffee at a time. It's cheaper. Yep, it is much, much, much cheaper. Guy saying God is in control was answering my comment about Brazil. Oh yeah, I'm aware of the Brazilian political situation, but God is in control. I don't know about politically, but in general, devotion, faith will help you. And it doesn't mean, what's happening here, politically and economically. They're going to go up and down, and terrible things are going to happen, and good things are going to happen. And we have to find some stability in that, right? You have to have something. You can't depend on that, in other words. This is what Gautama Buddha was talking about, that in Buddhism, they emphasize this quite a lot, impermanence, meaning everything in this material world is constantly changing, and you cannot rely on any of it. You can't rely on your body, because your body eventually will get sick and die. You can't rely on the economy. It will go up, it will go down. You certainly can't rely on politicians or anyone who has power, because especially now they're a bunch of lying, cheating scumbags and actively evil. You can't rely on any of that because it will change. 100% it's going to change. So you have to find what can you rely on, right? And that is the foundation of having a spiritual life, a spiritual understanding. And I think it starts, and this is one thing I like about Buddhism, is that emphasis that, and other religions say it in maybe similar but somewhat different ways, but they will all point you to the same idea, right? That this material world, we can't rely on it, and we know that because we're mortal and we die, and so therefore relying on this, Sanatana Dharma also teaches this, of course. And Christianity, Islam, put it probably that this is, the world is fallen. It's the same idea, though, right? So, absolutely. You got to prepare for these things and do your best, but your foundation has to be something stronger. And that's why I say, devotion, faith, family, these are the things you need to focus on as a foundation. Not money, not jobs, not career, not even skills and these other things. These are all useful, but they all do change, and they go up and down. And this has always been true through history. So find something you can rely on at a much deeper level. Like Anna says, sell your cars, walk more, eat less at restaurants, cut your expenses as much as possible, learn new stuff, and everything will be okay. I do believe so. And I would say learn some self-defense because crime may be going up too. So learn some self-defense. There's no perfect self-defense. It's not the movies, Okay, there's no perfect system. You'll see people arguing about this. What if there's 10 guys and they all have guns? Well, you're probably dead. But it's a ridiculous, stupid argument. The point is, learn to have at least some basic self-defense, especially just awareness. If you watch online, people who get attacked, or a lot of times nowadays they're not aware of what's around them. They're looking at their phones, and they're not looking around and seeing that, oh, these guys are kind of scary. Maybe I should move away from them. Right? They're just not aware. People are too distracted. So at the very least, being aware as you walk around, seeing who's around you. If you get a bad feeling about anybody, or you get a bad feeling about a place, leave, move away. Right? And I think it also would be a nice idea to go ahead and learn some jiu-jitsu or some other way of defending yourself, some basic self-defense. Will help you as well. All right, guys. And Leonardo Jose finally says, buy companies that pay dividends for a good price. Exactly. Now, if you do have extra money, if you have savings, exactly right. This is what's interesting is that people who have savings, who live simply, who have extra money, when stock markets crash, they see that as an opportunity. Oh, I can buy these companies, these stocks now really cheaply. I can buy them cheaply, and they make dividends, meaning it's kind of like interest. It's not exactly the same, but they give you some income, and it's cheaper. So you'll actually look at a stock market crash and see it as maybe not good, but it's not scary. It's actually an opportunity for you. But that's only true if you have extra money, if you have savings. Right? If you got a bunch of extra money and that you can go buy things when they drop and they become cheap. Good point. All right, guys, I got to go. We got to do a phone call with great-grandparents. Lots of love to you. As always, join my business English course. So if you're interested in building your job skills, your job hunting skills, your job search skills, your career skills, all of these things, if you're interested in this topic more, get my business English course at my website, effortlessenglishclub.com. Lots of love to you. Have a great new year. We'll be back, and we'll talk more about goals and other things. Bye for now.